The most important thing that children must learn at school is how to read. It has been found that children who learn to read easily are likely to be the ones who read a lot. And children who read a lot are likely to be successful at school than those who don't. It's as simple as that. The best way to achieve that skill is through synthetic phonics. Now, why synthetic phonics? When we were children ourselves, we never learned to read using phonics, let alone synthetic phonics. So, why the emphasis on this approach? I went to kindergarten more than half a century ago, so it's not surprising that I barely remember how I learned to read and write. But it certainly wasn't through a phonics approach. It was probably a mix of methods, learning at school and at home, working out by chance the patterns of words or the link between letters and sounds. Well, we know now, through various studies that have been conducted, that using a hodgepodge of methods to teach reading is not very effective. And most children don't learn to read well enough, fast enough, using such methods. Teaching reading using synthetic phonics leads to higher standards for all learners, both in the short term and the long term, not only for reading, but also for spelling and writing. So what is synthetic phonics? Well, synthetic phonics is a method of teaching reading which first teaches the letter sounds and then builds up to blending these sounds together to achieve full pronunciation of whole words. So, there are really two crucial things that a child who is starting to read learns. One, that sounds are represented by written letters. And two, that those sounds can be blended or synthesized to form words. Traditionally, children have been taught the alphabet as the first step to reading. It is okay to learn the names of the letters of the alphabet, but for early years teaching, it is better for the child's reading skills if the focus is on letter sounds rather than the letter names. This is because children can get confused between the sound we say for a letter and the name of that letter. But if you want the child to be able to say and remember the alphabet as letter names, this is best done through learning an alphabet song, just for fun. Learning to read English can be difficult. There are 44 different sounds used in English, but there are only 26 letters for all of those 44 sounds. Obviously, there aren't enough letters to represent all the sounds, so some of the sounds have to be represented by 2 or even 3 letters, like SH for sh and IGH for I. To make matters worse, some sounds can be represented in more than one way, like OA and OE for the O sound in boat and toe. In systematic synthetic phonics, children don't learn the sounds of letters in alphabetical order. They learn the sounds of groups of letters in a systematic manner that allows them to quickly form words. For example, the first 4 sounds that they learn are S, A, T, and P. And from these, they easily form words like tap, pat, sat, and sap. For sounds with alternative representations, they start with just one way to read and write those sounds. Only when they have mastered the simple code that they are taught the alternative versions of the same sound. Once children can read the sounds, they are taught to read the words by blending. This is called synthesizing the sounds together to make a word. As they learn to build words from individual sounds, they also learn to break words into their constituent sounds. 1. Decoding teaches them to read. The other, encoding, teaches them to spell. After learning to read and spell some words, children will come across words that can't be easily read by blending. These are the tricky words. Imagine trying to read the word was, wa, or z, or does, d, z. What you see doesn't match the sounds that you're saying. These words have to be learned by sight, and children just have to memorize them. When all is said and done, nothing beats practice. With frequent practice, children will build up a knowledge of the sound-letter relationship and will be able to encode sounds and decode words fluently and automatically. Obviously, native English speakers who are learning to read do not have a problem with the language. They already speak it. For example, an English-speaking child probably uses the words they and them frequently in everyday situations and would know how to use the words in proper context. They only need to learn to read those words, which is just a matter of blending a for they and for them. Beginning readers whose mother tongue is not English have to overcome the two obstacles of reading and understanding the language. They will have to learn to read words they may not have encountered before and also learn what those words mean. So, in this respect, apart from having to know the meaning of words read, the correct pronunciation is also important. For example, a non-native English speaker, following the rules of phonics, may pronounce N, E, W, S as news with a S, when the correct pronunciation is news with a Z. Learning to read using systematic synthetic phonics has been shown to be effective, but it requires a dedicated effort on the part of teachers and parents. And if the approach is followed as recommended, there is every reason that a child who's just learning to read will acquire this skill within the expected time frame.